Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are tackling something I think most of us do without a second thought. Oral hygiene.
Right.
Specifically, mouthwash. For decades, the gold standard for a clean mouth was all about intensity, right?
Oh, absolutely.
If it wasn't super minty, if it didn't have that searing alcohol burn, you felt like it wasn't really working.
That burn was the signal. We were basically trained to think that sanitation meant sterilizing the entire environment. But, our sources today show that this entire mindset is it's severely outdated.
Outdated how?
Especially when you look at it through the lens of modern microbiome science. We're talking about a complete paradigm shift here, really, moving from, let's say, chemical warfare to something more like biological restoration.
Okay, let's unpack that. Our mission for this deep dive is pretty focused. Can these new oral probiotics actually replace that traditional harsh mouthwash we use every day?
And more importantly, why might our old routine, that heavy-hitting antiseptic blast, why might that actually be sabotaging our long-term health?
It's a huge question.
It is. It's critical because the source material is pretty decisive. It shows that while, yes, traditional mouthwash has a role, a very specific short-term one, using it every single day, is problematic.
So we should start with what it was designed to do. It had a purpose.
Of course, the promise was clear. Kill harmful microbes, reduce plaque, freshen your breath instantly. It was the quick fix, the heavy artillery.
Right, like if you felt a cold coming on or you just ate a ton of garlic.
Precisely. And in some cases, after a dental procedure or if you have a diagnosed infection, that temporary blast is warranted. Your dentist might even prescribe it.
But here's where it gets really interesting, as you said. The problem is that it's a blunt instrument.
That is the perfect way to put it. It is entirely non-discriminatory.
Meaning it kills everything, not just the bad stuff, but the whole community of microbes that are actually trying to help you.
Absolutely everything. You have to think of your mouth not as this sterile box, but as a complex, vibrant ecosystem. It's an oral microbiome.
The second largest in the body, right? After the gut.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And it relies on this delicate balance to regulate pH, to defend against invaders. When you pour in a strong alcohol-based rinse, you just crash that entire ecosystem. You wipe out all the competition.
Well, hold on. If we're brushing twice a day and flossing, aren't we already disrupting things? Why is mouthwash so much worse?
That's a great question. Brushing and flossing are mechanical. They physically remove plaque and food. Mouthwash is different. It's a chemical shockwave.
A shockwave. I like that.
It really is. It kills strains that are deeply integrated into your tissues, your tongue. And when you lose those essential beneficial bacteria, you set yourself up for, well, the sources point to 4 very specific negative consequences.
Okay, let's zero in on those. Problem number 1, destroying the essentials. What are these good guys that we're accidentally wiping out?
They're basically your first line of defense. They practice something called competitive inhibition.
So they take up all the space.
Exactly. They occupy the real estate on your tongue and gums, so the bad guys, the pathogens, can't move in. They also help maintain a healthy pH. When they're gone, acid-producing pathogens take over, and your risk for decay and inflammation just skyrockets.
I remember seeing something in the sources about this. It felt like a deep cut, but it was about a link to cardiovascular health through nitrates. Is that real?
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic point. It's an emerging field, but it's compelling. Certain bacteria in your mouth convert nitrates from your diet into nitrites.
Okay.
And your body uses that to produce nitric oxide, which is critical for regulating blood pressure. So when you wipe out your oral microbiome with harsh rinses, you're actually disrupting that entire pathway. It shows how connected everything is.
Wow. That's a lot more serious than just having fresh breath.
It is.
Which actually leads right into the second consequence you mentioned, this rebound effect. We've all been there. You swish, feel great, and then like an hour later, your breath is maybe even worse. Why?
Because the microbes that cause bad breath, these are the sulfur-producing ones, they're often more resilient. They're quicker to repopulate the area than the good bacteria you just killed.
So you've created a vacuum.
A perfect vacuum. And they rush right back in, unchecked, and start producing these. They're called volatile sulfur compounds, or VSCs, at an accelerated rate. So the minty freshness wears off, and the actual source of the odor is now stronger than it was before.
That's an amazing paradox. You're creating a cycle of dependence on the very thing that's causing the problem.
Exactly right. And that's before we even talk about the ingredients themselves. The third consequence is the drying effect.
The alcohol.
Mostly the alcohol, yeah. It's famous for drying things out.
So how does that hurt our defenses?
Saliva is your mouth's natural defense system. It's full of enzymes, antibodies, all kinds of good stuff. When alcohol dries out your mouth, you get less saliva.
Okay.
And low saliva means your mouth can't neutralize acids or wash away debris nearly as well.
It's fun.
It creates this perfect storm for more bacteria and more odor.
So it's like a chemical hangover. It leaves your mouth totally dehydrated and vulnerable.
That's a perfect analogy. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most worrying consequence, the broader health implications. It's not just temporary dryness.
This is the long-term stuff.
This is the long-term stuff. Repeatedly altering your microbiome like this has been shown to impact gum health, enamel, chronic inflammation, even your oral immune system itself. The mouth is a gateway to the rest of the body.
So it's clear the old scorched earth approach just isn't sustainable.
Not for long-term health, no.
So if destruction is the problem, I guess restoration has to be the solution. Which brings us to oral probiotics.
And this is where the entire philosophy just flips. We stop fighting and we start supporting. We move away from the antiseptic model and toward biological manipulation.
Meaning we're introducing helpful bacteria on purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Specifically chosen for the mouth.
Right. We've all heard of probiotics for the gut. What makes an oral probiotic different?
The strains are completely different. They're tailored to survive in your mouth. The temperature, the pH, the saliva. And their goals are preventative. First, they restore balance by just crowding out the bad guys.
Competitive inhibition again.
You got it. Second, they support gum health by lowering inflammation. And third, they promote truly long-lasting fresh breath because they tackle the source of the problem, those VSE-producing bacteria.
So we're talking about very targeted strains here, not just random bacteria.
Absolutely. The research often points to strains like Streptococcus, Salivarius K12, and M18, or certain Lactobacillus reuteri strains. These are powerhouses. The K12 strain, for example, produces these things called bacteriessins.
Which are what?
They're like little smart missiles that selectively inhibit the growth of harmful bacteria without harming the good ones.
That is fascinating. So it's not just about taking up space, it's about actively fighting back.
It's biological real estate management, but with a built-in security force. You're inoculating your mouth with the defensive population that keeps the bad actors in check.
Okay, so let's look at this in practice. The sources mention a specific product, Adam Natural's ProvaDent. The analogy they used really stuck with me. They said mouthwash is chemical warfare, but this is like planting healthy seeds in a garden.
It's a powerful analogy because it gets to the heart of it. It's proactive. It's restorative. Instead of trying to sterilize everything, which we know just rebounds, products like ProvaDent are designed to work with your body's biology, not against it.
So how does this gardening approach actually tackle something like chronic bad breath better than a rinse?
It's all about precision. For bad breath, instead of just masking the smell with mint, you're directly reducing the population of those sulfur-producing bacteria.
By crowding them out.
By crowding them out, and with those bacteriocins we talked about, you eliminate the source, so the VSEs just, they never get produced in the first place.
And what about gum inflammation? That's a huge issue for so many people.
Many of these probiotic strains have known anti-inflammatory properties. By restoring balance, you lower the number of pathogens that are triggering that inflammatory response in your gums. It creates a calmer, healthier environment. And, there's no burning, no dryness, no harsh chemicals stressing the tissue day after day.
So we arrive at the million-dollar question, the core of this whole deep dive. Can oral probiotics truly replace traditional mouthwash for daily use?
The answer is a little nuanced, but it's pretty decisive. For the vast majority of people seeking everyday wellness and long-term oral health.
Yes.
A clear yes.
A clear yes. They absolutely can and probably should replace traditional mouthwash. The supportive approach just builds a healthier, more sustainable foundation.
But we have to talk about the context, right? There must be times when that old-school mouthwash still has a place.
The context is crucial. Absolutely. It still serves a specific acute function. If your dentist diagnoses a severe infection or prescribes a medicated rinse after surgery, you listen to your dentist. That's a medical tool for a specific job, but not for everyday maintenance.
No. For everyday fresh breath, for preventing decay, for supporting your gums. That role has decisively shifted to supportive, restorative, probiotic care.
So we should think of mouthwash less like a daily soap and more like a prescription antibiotic.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's a powerful drug, not a daily vitamin. And when you look at something like ProvaDent, The logic is just undeniable. It's built for daily use without irritation, it uses these highly targeted strains, and it actively restores your mouth's natural defenses.
It seems like that feeling of clean we always associated with the burning was, well, it was really just the feeling of disruption, not health.
That is the core takeaway. The old mindset that you have to fight and kill everything in your mouth is just obsolete. Modern science shows that a truly healthy mouth relies on a rich, balanced, flourishing microbial ecosystem.
So if you're someone who is looking for a sustainable routine, if you're tired of that cycle of short-term freshness followed by dryness, this really does represent a smarter, science-backed switch.
It's all about building resilience instead of constantly relying on destruction.
A totally different way of thinking.
And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it, as you think about your daily habits, if the health of your mouth really depends on supporting this flourishing internal ecosystem instead of just constantly destroying it. What other parts of your self-care routine might be relying on that same old logic?
You mean, where else are we using a chemical shockwave?
Exactly. Where else are you accidentally scorching the battlefield when a gentler, more supportive approach would actually be so much more effective in the long run?